Well, good morning. And as Kate said, happy February. When I was a kid, we called it February. And the teacher would always correct me, there's an R in there. February. And happy Groundhog's Day Eve. Be sure to decorate your house and be prepared. Buy gifts for all your groundhog friends. Yeah, I think that day was just invented to do something this time of the year. We get so bored. So little comic relief. Well, welcome, and I invite you just to take in the energy of the Sangha, which is just the sense of being here with people that are engaged in the same practice that you are, people that have the same aspirations of awakening, people that are interested in the Dharma to one degree or another. We call this the Sangha, and the Sangha is a very important part of our practice. Just being supported by and connecting with others that are on the journey. We have to walk it alone, and on the other hand, we never walk it alone. So that's a great paradox of this practice, that no one can do it for us, but we don't have to do it alone. So today, I want to talk about something the Buddha taught many times. It's come to be known as the three characteristics of existence. And in the Dharma, the word existence means existence in time and space. So this is if you live in time and space, these are three things you will experience. It's inevitable. That's what he's saying. One is called dukkha, which is translated often as suffering. I think a better word is dissatisfaction. Life is dukkha. Existence is dukkha, which means that nothing in this world of time and space and form can give us permanent, lasting, complete satisfaction. There's always something missing, wanting. We can't get enough stuff, whether it's physical stuff or mental stuff, to make us happy, to be satisfied. Some call it the human condition. That inside that space that says, is this all? There's got to be more. Why am I here? Another characteristic is that of anatta, which typically is translated as no self or not self. Basically, the essence of the teaching is to not cling to any sense of identity. You can have an identity. We all need one. It helps us do the things we need to do. We've got our credit cards and our ID cards and our medical cards and all of these cards. That's the game we play in the world. It's necessary. But to not cling to any particular identity, good, bad, or in between. It's like this is just a role that we're playing, in a sense. And the third one, and the one I want to talk about today, is anicca. Anicca is often translated as impermanence, and I'll say a whole lot more about that in the next few minutes. So the Buddha said that if we have a deep, clear understanding of any one of these three, dukkha, anicca, or anatta, that could lead to awakening. If we had a moment where we had a glimpse into the true nature of impermanence, we would see reality, experience reality. Because that's the nature of reality, is that it's not real in the sense that we think it is. So I found that in working with impermanence or anicca, there tends to be three levels of understanding. And when we first learn about impermanence or anicca, I'm going to use the word anicca because it really has connotations in the Pali word, the language of the Buddha. It has connotations that get lost when we translate it into the English. So anicca, the first level of understanding is that everything dies, goes away, decays, falls apart. You mentioned the word impermanence. You sort of see people's shoulders sag and chin drop a little bit. And, oh, yeah, that one, impermanence. Okay, I don't know. Everybody, you're going to get old, you're going to get sick, you're going to die. Yeah, I can hardly wait. So there's this almost grudging response to, I know what impermanence is. And there's an element of truth in it. We all will die. We all will, maybe we won't all get sick in age, but we're all going to die. Everything's going to change. The world comes, the world goes. Oh, yeah. But then eventually there's a second layer of understanding. And that brings us up out of our depression. That second layer of understanding is that impermanence means everything is not only dying, but it's being reborn as well. You see, so the universe consists of an endless series or simultaneous characteristics of dying and being reborn. Every breath dies and is reborn. Every cell in our body will eventually die and be reborn. So birth and death is often called the dance of Shiva in the Hindu tradition. Shiva's the one that plays the drum, and he's got 4 arms and many legs, and he's always dancing. He's busy making the universe happen. So the universe is this dance of birth and death, creation, destruction. So we see things in a little bit different way. It's not just loss, but it's loss and birth, something emerging and something dying. So that's another understanding, and I think a deeper understanding than the first layer. But the third layer of understanding anicca, and this is really the most important, I believe, is that anicca says that things not only are always changing, but there are no things. There's nothing but change. In other words, the universe, everything that we know, is really nothing but change. So the universe is more like a melody than a collection of objects. Our body is more like a song than a solid lump of flesh and bone. Everything in the universe is not a thing. There's no such thing as a thing. It may look like a thing to us, But that's simply because of the biology of our eyes and brains. The wall, the floor is not solid. Science will tell you that. You put a microscope to it, an electron microscope, you can see right through it, see right into it. So science is beginning to validate, in a sense, what the Dharma has been teaching for a long time about everything is like music. It dances, the dance of Shiva. And that's all it is. So in the practice of our meditation, what I did this morning was to practice being aware of how each sensation rises and falls. Each sound rises and falls. Every thought rises and falls. The problem is we resist some of them. We don't allow them to just naturally occur, or we grasp onto some of them. I like that wave. I want to hold it. I like that note. Don't let go of that note. That moment. I want to hold on to that moment. I want to resist this person, this feeling. So the anicca is just non-resisting, non-grasping. And so what I'd like to do is just take a couple of minutes, and Ricky is going to lead us into a 1-minute musical meditation in which I'd like for you to listen to each note if you can and recognize that the melody arises out of the fact that no note lasts. Every note rises, vibrates, and it falls. And that there would be no melody if there weren't silence between the notes. So we'll take a moment, and Ricky's been rehearsing this for years. So I just told her this morning about it. So she's going to very kindly cooperate with me, I think.
I'm going to use
Anyway,
two
I'll turn it over to you
instruments.
then.
I'm going to use two instruments so you can hear the difference. And you'll notice how a note has to leave for the next note to come. More in this than in here, but you'll still hear it.
Were you able to notice how you experienced each note? I noticed when the flute music finished, there was some grasping. It's like I don't want to let that go, come back. But just noticing how there's a certain note that I love, there's a certain note that I resist. Noticing how your body responds to the music is that our body responds to everything we see and hear. Paying attention to the rising and falling. So this idea of using music as a metaphor, but it's even more than a metaphor, I think. I think that using music is a very powerful way of thinking of impermanence, the impermanence of each note. No note lasts forever. And in fact, the beauty of a melody is that there is birth, life, and death. Each note rises, lives, and it dies. And then there's the silence in the background. All of that becomes part of the melody. If the universe is the dance of Shiva, then the dance is choreographed by, listen to each note. Yeah, thank you. The melody of the dance of Shiva has a choreographer. That choreography is in the form of mathematics. Mathematics is like the score, the musical score of the melody of the universe. And I don't have nearly enough time to talk about all the things I would like to talk about, but I've always been fascinated by mathematics because I've wondered how can something that's a human invention, I mean, mathematics is not found in nature, it's found inside of our own brain, right? How can these things we create in our mind predict and describe the universe? In other words, a particular mathematical principle works on the planet Pluto just as much as it works on the planet Earth, as it's a universal principle. And because of that, oftentimes what has happened is mathematics outpaces the telescope, so to speak. We discover something mathematically before we discover it through observation. So math is not something we simply see and then record to describe what we're seeing, but it's something that is, as is often said, it's not just descriptive, it's proscriptive. In other words, it tells you not only what did happen, but what will happen. It's a classic example. E equals MC squared. E, wish I had a chalkboard. I'm so used to having a chalkboard. Just imagine it's behind me. E equals MC squared. Maybe the most famous equation in the world. And that, of course, is the equation developed by Albert Einstein in his theory of relativity. And it describes the relationship between matter and energy. Energy is the E. Equals means the same as. M, which is mass. You can think of mass as the weight of something or the size of it. So it's a combination of those two. But mass, basically, it means size or weight. C squared, C is the speed of light, roughly 186,000 miles per second, which is, I think, 6 trillion miles an hour. So square that. So that's a statement telling us that matter is simply frozen energy. And matter is not only just frozen energy, but there's a certain relationship between the size and the weight of the matter and how much energy you'll get from it. You know, it's been said that a few drops of water contain enough energy to light a whole city for several days. If we use that equation, what we get is what we saw in 1946, a nuclear trinity, the nuclear explosion. You see, picture that mushroom cloud. Let me see how many years that was. Einstein's equation was published more than 40 years before the atomic bomb went off. And the atomic bomb was nothing but an expression of that equation. So how can a man-made equation predict the power of an atomic bomb, which is capable, as you well know, of destroying everyone and everything? So mathematics is sort of the choreography of the music of the universe, the melody of the universe. And I love to talk about how math, like I say, math beats the telescope. The black hole, just recently, the black holes were discovered in 2015. Black holes were actually a theoretical possibility that was discovered over 2 centuries ago. Someone said, well, you know, if this mass gets to this size, then even light cannot escape. Gravity will be so strong. But everybody said, but that's just a mathematical anomaly. That's just theoretical. That'll never happen. Well, guess what? That description on a piece of paper preceded the actual vision of a black hole. Gravitational waves discovered also about 10 years ago. You may have heard about when that happened. That was predicted almost 100 years ago, mathematics. Antimatter, 1932 it was discovered, 5 years after it was predicted mathematically. The expansion of the universe, you know, with the fact that the universe is growing, was discovered 7 years after the mathematical equations were worked out. So it's very fascinating how the mind can create a tool that precedes the physical manifestation of that expression. There was a time in 1931, Einstein's first wife, Elsa, she was given a tour of the Mount Palomar Observatory in California. And at that time, it was the biggest and the best of the telescopes sitting on top of a mountain, and very famous at the time. And so the astronomer there was showing off this beautiful 100-inch scope that was, you know, almost made to the back door there practically in size. It's huge. And he was very happy about showing her all of the things it could do. And she just sort of shrugged her shoulders and said, This is Einstein's wife. She shrugged her shoulders as she said, you know, my husband does the same thing on the back of an envelope. She was not impressed. So it's quite fascinating. You see, there's two approaches to discovery. One is to discover externally, but there's a way that we can discover internally as well. And this is true, I believe, in many levels, not just the physical level. It's quite interesting. I love that story because the poor astronomer, he was deflated. So returning to the Dharma, the Buddha taught that everything that exists is in essence nothing but change, nothing but what we call vibrations, maybe, or energy. Ignorance of this truth leads to grasping. Ignorance in the Dharma doesn't simply mean not knowing intellectually. It means not really totally grasping the full implications of something. So we may know impermanence causes, or struggling with impermanence can cause suffering. May know that intellectually. Oh yeah, I read that in a book. Or Victor told me all about that. I know all about that, I guess. But do we really know it? You know, we still grasp. We still grasp. You know, there's a big difference between understanding at the mind level and understanding at the level of being. And that's what the Dharma practice is all about, is about bringing that in. So every chance you have to see and appreciate and experience impermanence can help you lead into that aha moment when you can really totally understand that life is a dream, life is a melody, life is a song. Where was your life 100 years ago? Where will your life be 100 years from now? Wherever it is, you'll be singing a song, you'll be vibrating, you'll be you in a different form. Even in this lifetime, we don't have to wait to die to be in a different form. Just look in the mirror. Yeah, if you want to see impermanence, just look in the mirror. That works for me. Okay, I got it. I've had enough impermanence. So reality is a dance. You're not separate from that dance. You are the dance. When we cling or resist, they create suffering. When we let go, we dance. And we don't just dance, but we are the dance itself. We become Shiva. When we become Shiva, we become that which we truly are, beyond words, can be experienced. I invite you to experience it. The words become unnecessary. Thank you for sharing your practice